The member for Mildura.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and what a delight it is to see you in the chair this afternoon. I'd like to say it was my pleasure to rise today to speak on the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, but again, it is one of those topics that I have intimate knowledge of, so I am pleased that I can rise in this place to give a point of view from ground level today. And as we've heard from speakers this afternoon, the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine was established in 1985, and in 2023 there was a review into the VIFM to determine if the Act was in fact fit for purpose. The September 2021 report, the Victorian Law Reform Commission handed down the report Improving the Justice System Response to Sexual Offences, and the recommendations relevant to forensic medicine included that the Victorian Government should, as part of the sexual assault strategy, develop measures to extend access to forensic medical examinations across Victoria, including by the increased use of forensic nurses, and B, to give victim survivors the option of a forensic medical examination without requiring a report to police. The key point that I take out of point A is across Victoria, not just in the city. This stuff isn't just city-based. And when bills are drawn up, the member for Kew raised a point earlier that victim survivors need to be put at the forefront of policy making in this space, and that includes out in the regions where it's hard to find doctors. We have an incredible shortage of medical professionals, including forensic nurses and forensic doctors. I do want to take a moment though to thank those that work at the Mallee Sexual Assault Unit. Again, this is one of those services in Mildura, in fact, that we are very, very fortunate to have. The Mallee Sexual Assault Unit and the Mallee Unit for Family and Domestic Violence do an incredible job, but they are so overwhelmed with cases. They have been, and I have been discussing the urgent need. It was urgent 5 years ago. It was urgent probably 10 years ago, the need for a new multidisciplinary centre, because in, we know what an MDC is, but in isolated communities like Mildura, having the socket team, the sexual assault unit, the family violence unit all in one place next to the legal precinct, if you will, is vitally important. And I thank the Minister for Police who came to Mildura a few weeks ago to meet with members of Victoria Police and have a look at the site that has been purchased. There are a few planning issues with that site that need to be addressed, but it is a step in the right direction. The staff at the Mallee Sexual Assault Unit, even though there has been a changeover recently, it is work that's vitally important, and I thank them for that. Back to the review. The findings of the review is what the bill seeks to implement, but as we've heard today, it falls terribly short. This bill won't help those that have been assaulted get the examination quicker. It won't guarantee the adequacy of funding needed to put more forensic nurses and doctors on the ground. And again, this is probably because there's been a very real lack of adequate consultation with those at the coalface, and we've heard from those key stakeholders. That concern has been expressed by key stakeholders, which I'll get to shortly, but there's a reason that I wholeheartedly support the member for Malvern's reason amendment, which, and I will read to you because I've got 5.5 minutes left, that the words after that be omitted and replaced with the words, "This House refuses to read this bill a second time until the government, A, properly consults with the medical profession in Victoria on the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, B, ensures that victim survivors of sexual assault can obtain timely forensic medical services, and C, improve safeguards for the use and sharing of personal information held by Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine." Now, again, point B, ensuring that a victim survivor of sexual assault can obtain timely forensic medicine. There has been many members in this place today refer to the 2022 ABC report that reported that the forensic examination system was failing victims in Victoria. And one victim survivor of sexual assault was forced to remain in her soiled clothing for 30 hours due to the unavailable of a forensic doctor. That, to me, is so awful, again, from intimate knowledge in the space. And I heard the member for Lowen earlier during her contribution that after a rape or a sexual assault, regardless of who the perpetrator is, the first thing you want to do is get clean. Now, I can't speak for other victim survivors, but the first thing you want to do, as the member for Lowen said, is wash it off and get as far away from it as possible. And having to wait around for 30 hours, a day and a half, in your soiled underwear and clothing is not only icky and gross, that was quoted in the report, it's demeaning. It voids you of any dignity that you've got left by that stage, and that is not much. And it just gives you so much time to sit with your thoughts and ponder what's just happened. Imagine what that does to your psyche. So not only have you been through this traumatic physical event, but then there's the mental health flow-on effects after that. This bill doesn't do much to address that. You can't really understand or imagine what that does to your psyche unless you have lived it. And those victim survivors are the ones that should be at the centre of this bill, and there are concerns that they are not. Like the member for Kew said earlier, it's crucial that victims of crime are deeply supported, especially in crimes like this. There's also been concerns, and many members have raised it today, concerns from several different key stakeholders, and those, of course, coming from the Australian Medical Association and the Law Institute of Victoria. And the main concerns of the AMA arise from them not being adequately consulted. As I mentioned earlier, Acting Speaker, they believe this bill should have a greater health focus, as the member for Kew said earlier, when in fact it's drafted as a justice bill, and they have concerns about a few other things as well that could be supported, could be addressed by supporting the member for Malvern's reasoned amendment. The Law Institute of Victoria has concern regarding the use and disclosure of information pertaining to individuals. They don't believe the legislative safeguards are sufficient. The VIFM must consult with coroners and Chief Commissioner of Police, but not the consent of individual or next of kin if the individual is deceased. Again, these things could be addressed with adequate consultation, which is why I do urge the government, of course, to seriously consider supporting the member for Malvern's reasoned amendment and simply do better in supporting and actually making real change on the ground as far as victim survivors and changes on the ground go, because that's where it's needed. And we can talk about investment and how many dollars have been put into policy, but what are the outcomes? And why aren't we measuring this stuff by outcomes? There's been statistics talked about in this place. The member for Lowen had a few that were, really concerning. That's how we should be addressing policy solutions to make actual change on the ground. So, with that in mind, I fully support the member for Malvern's reasoned amendment, and I encourage the government to do the same. It is a step in the right direction, but it falls critically short of doing what the bill is intended to do.